This is Kate Swoboda, creator of YourCourageousLife.com, director of the Courageous Living Coach certification at TeamCLCC.com, and author of the book, The Courage Habit, which is available at booksellers and at Amazon. The Your Courageous Life podcast is all about going after what you want and creating and living a more courageous, emotionally resilient life. Might drop a couple of F-bombs, so maybe don't listen with your kids in the backseat of the car. And here we go with today's episode. Got a question for you. How long is it going to take before things feel better? And I am very, very accustomed to this question. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm working with my coach, Matthew, and I say, I'm doing everything you said I should do. How long does it take to feel better? So I'd been taking time daily to meditate, to visualize, to tap into gratitude, to move my body, to notice any places where I was out of integrity and get back into alignment. And the negativity still sat on my shoulders like a nagging headache. I still caught myself complaining, immediately noticing what was wrong rather than what was right in my life. And the shame I felt at that time about not being a quote unquote more positive person was palpable. I'd been doing what my coach, Matthew, had suggested for months. So when would I see the results? How long would it take before I'd feel happier or more secure or more grounded? And Matthew says, I don't know. Right? It's like kind of the worst answer in some ways. He's very simple. He's very kind. He's very straightforward. He wasn't lacking empathy. He knew that I was having a hard time. He got that. And then we talked about how there is no goalpost, no there over there that I was supposed to try to get to. He pointed out my phrasing, how I'd told him I was doing everything, quote, you said I should do, which indicated that I still thought that the work was done to satisfy him, something external to get my gold star, a should prescribed by someone else, rather than letting the work be about my own inner wellspring. Gotcha. He got me. He knew. He saw it. He was seeing the stuff I wasn't seeing. And then the conversation moved over to, oh yes, of course, a favorite topic for the perfectionist within me, releasing expectations. Like the expectations about how long it is supposed to take or how it's supposed to look. And then Matthew drops the question of all questions, all Yoda-like. Are you willing to let this be a process? Think about that for your own life right now. Are you willing to let this be a process? Because when am I going to see the results feel better? That's a product. That's an end result. The process is different. So when our friends are going through hell, when the illness or injury rages on, when you look up after weeks of abstinence from an addiction and yep, the craving is still there, when you've cried yourself to the bone and you can tell that there is still grief, when the shit hits the fan in life, and especially when you've done all the right things in response, but the hits keep on coming, I think it's only human to ask, how long does it take to feel better? Answer, it's a process. And spoiler alert, you're going to hate hearing from people that it's a process. You're going to hate it even though it's true. And spending a lot of time resenting the messenger is a waste of time. You can't outrun truth, and the truth lands squarely here. When your friends are going through hell, when the illness or the injury rages on, when the addiction and the cravings are still there, when there's still grief, you can do so many wonderful, proactive, helpful things that promote all sorts of healing. You just can't skip the part where there's a process. Now, I'm writing this, reading this, thinking about this maybe a decade after that conversation with Matthew. And let me tell you, since then, there have been so many fucking processes. I still find being in process with something in my life quite uncomfortable. But I've gotten smarter about, or tried to anyway, get smarter about not kicking and screaming and avoiding the fact that there's a process. When quite literally everything in my life is saying about a thing, this doesn't feel good, I suit up and pay attention instead of stick my head in the sand. And the irony, of course, is that the more one resists the process they're in, the longer it takes to process it. So how long does it take to feel better? About as long as my resistance lasts, I've often found. So you could contemplate that for yourself. Any chance it's true for you? Now, this doesn't mean don't do the stuff, okay? Yes to meditation, to prayer, to moving your body, feeding it the best available foods, noticing tendencies to complain or criticize or ruminate. Interrupt those tendencies. Do the proactive thing. Yes to reaching out for support, to creating better habits, to consciously deciding to do nothing if you're a chronic go doer. I mean, sometimes the most proactive thing you can do if you're a doer is to just take a break from doing. Yes to abstaining from the addiction, to confronting your resistance and the parts of you that want to give up. Yes to noticing your mindset and consciously choosing not to go into pessimism, even if the reframes feel fakey fake. And spoiler alert, especially when you first start reframing, it's going to feel fakey fake. So often when we are in a process, fear takes over and tells you this is too hard, you can't do this, this process thing is worse than it was before we tried to change. What's the point? I'm tired, and on and on and on. And with that, if you listen to that, back to the old way of being you go. So when fear sings that old tune, it's actually time for you to double down. It's actually time for you to double down. Like we're talking extra meditation sesh, extra self-acknowledgement for even the smallest thing you're doing right. When your fear is like in your head, it is time for extra texts to your bestie going, hey, it's been a bit of a day. Can we talk? It's time for extra pushes to say out loud and in a vibrant and wildly alive voice. Here's what I'm committed to noticing that's great about the world right now. That's when it's time to double down. And yeah, it's going to feel like willpower and it's going to feel fakey fake. And the next thing your critic is going to say is, oh my God, this is so cheesy. Personal growth and the self-help and yeah, got it. And how long does it take to feel better? Well, the more you buy into that voice, the longer it takes. You know, really, it takes as long as it takes, this process thing. And the greatest help we can bring to others or ourselves is self-compassion around things taking as long as they take to heal, to grow, to transform. I mean, we all know that it, quote unquote, won't happen overnight. You know, we all know if you build it, they will come is not necessarily how it works. And in the most painful parts of any process, we need to remind each other and ourselves that being in process is the work, is the healing, is the growth. You know, there's no timeline. There's no cartography of the soul for how to feel better faster. How long it will take to feel better is some mishmash of things we can set intentions around and take actions towards, and a fate that is wholly out of our control. But when we are willing to be in the process of things, the ride definitely gets smoother. So where in your life could you step out of the resistance that it's taking longer than you want it to and step into it takes as long as it takes. I'm in the process I'm in. And my ultimate commitment is to keep turning this ship in the direction that I want to sail. Because that's the work. All right, that's today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. You know you can continue the work and the fun if you want to. Head on over to yourcourageouslife.com/begin and become a Your Courageous Life subscriber, because as soon as you sign up, you get access to an entire library of worksheets and audios and other bonuses. And of course, you'll be receiving more courage in your inbox. And who wouldn't love that? You can learn more about the Courageous Living Coach certification at teamclcc.com. You can get the Courage Habit at your local bookseller, on Amazon, wherever you like. We can even connect on social media. I'm on Facebook at Your Courageous Life. So look for facebook.com/Your Courageous Life. And I'm on Instagram as Kate Courageous. And I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. So here's to you, using these courageous tools in your life and creating a real ripple effect of good. And again, thanks so much for listening. I love it that you're here.